You've got a shot that you simply love, but the color and contrast just aren't there. Let's take a look at how Adobe Camera Raw can help. I'll reduce the size of this area and actually bring preview and metadata and keywords down where I like them. And here you can see a few shots taken not with high-end cameras, but with an iPhone and with point-and-shoot consumer class cameras. If I look at the preview and double-click on favorites to collapse it, the bigger I make this preview window, the more detail I could see. In this series, captured one right after the other, there's a blue cast. Indoor lighting and flash on digital cameras often cause a blue cast. So let's fix it. Even though this is just a JPEG, I'm going to choose File, Open in Camera Raw to use the very powerful Camera Raw features on my low-end shot. I'll maximize the image area, and I could see all of this blue. In fact, if you move your mouse into the image, you should be getting a readout. I'll switch to my hand tool and look at the RGB values over here on the right. Control 0 or Command 0 will also fit back in window. And as I'm correcting, there's actually a color sampler tool where I can mark a dark spot, a light spot, and maybe a medium gray. Now this indicates I have a clipping warning. The flash was so close to the pug that that detail is already gone or blown out. In fact, Camera Raw has a highlights feature which, if it's possible, will attempt to preserve those very delicate highlights. So by pulling highlights towards the darker end, lighter highlights, preserved highlights. This used to be called recovery in the older Camera Raw dialog. But I can watch markers 1, 2, and 3 and see that blue is very high at 46, the highest at 224, and the highest here at 209. So by moving the color temperature a little bit away from blue towards yellow, you've removed that cast. You don't even need to set these samplers as you do this, but I did that so that you could see how the blue was affected. Here, green and blue are exactly even, which you should get in a neutral area, in a shadow area. Red's a little bit higher, which might be okay in this case, depending on what tone I want to reach in that black dog. Here, blue is, again, close to green, and I'm missing a little bit of red. I could even warm up the shadows a bit more. And then in this one, green and blue are closer. Blue's still a bit high in number 3 in the gray, so I could decide to go farther, but you have to start using your own judgment at this point and see if you like where it's going or if you're making it worse. Sometimes you go too far, and I can see clearly that's too yellow, and I dial it back so it's more subtle. I can make the image overall brighter or darker by playing with exposure. And I'm going to go a little bit dark on this one. I can rich in the shadows, which may plug up all the detail in the black dog. So by lightening the shadows, I actually get all of this 3/4 tone, or 75% black is my good estimation. I'm getting all this detail. If I zoom in with Command plus or Control plus, or click the plus sign to zoom in, you could see every bit of fur, where if I have very dark shadows, you don't see a lot of detail in the darkest parts of the image. And even with the shadows opened up, I can make richer, darker blacks. So if I fit in window or zoom back down with the minus over here in the corner, watch how shadows can be very dark, plugged up, more detail, and watch how blacks can get lighter, similar to shadows. But as I richen those up, I get richer blacks without all the detail being lost, especially here. And finally, I love boosting clarity just a little bit. It helps in this view to go to 100%, and this was a fairly low resolution shot, so I may have gone too far in clarity, but I can dial clarity back down. Or you could double click on the dial to reset it to 0. So the camera automatically sharpened because it was shot in JPEG, so you might want to be subtle about how far you go here. Vibrance, and I'll zoom down so you could see that. Vibrance will just richen up all of the colors in the background. So vibrance at 59, in my opinion, is too high. I'll dial it back down, but if I go the opposite direction, it moves basically towards black and white, leaving a bit of color. Vibrance should help the color here, some of the yellow and the painting in the background. So watch where we've come. I will check and uncheck preview to see a before and after. Before, after. It's like you don't know how bad it is until you fix it so that it's better. Amazing corrections, and I can usually do this in less than 2 minutes. But wait, there's more. When I hit done, Bridge has corrected this, and now I can choose Edit, Develop Settings, copy what I just did on this shot. Click the second one in the series, Shift-click the last one in the series, Edit, Develop Settings, Paste. And click OK to paste everything. Now I have a fully color-corrected series, and if I wanted to make individual adjustments, I could double-click on one. It brings up Camera Raw, and maybe I think this is a bit too yellow. I'll dial it down and hit Done. That is my overview of using Adobe Camera Raw, and I'll flip back to Bridge so you could see it. Adobe Camera Raw on any shot. You click on something that was shot with your point-and-shoot camera or even your cell phone, and choose File, Open in Camera Raw, so you get all of the tools that the high-end photographers have been using for years. I'll cancel this, but you can play with another image on your own and see how far you can come with just a few moves of the dials.